Hello, Aussie people. Welcome back to AFL from LA. I'm Cindye. I'm here with Andy from Ankle Sore. Hi, Andy. How are you?
Hi, American people.
Hi to the three American people.
It's three more than zero, so I've got to say hello to them.
This week, Sydney will be playing Brisbane at the MCG on a Saturday afternoon. Now, I need you to clarify. It is at 2:30.
2:30 p.m.
So you know what that means.
You can watch it.
I can watch it. It's at 9:30 here in Los Angeles. All right. So Geelong did not make it, obviously, to the grand final. And there was this collective no heard across the world. So I want to know, how are you feeling? There is no Victorian team in the grand final. And I want to make sure you're okay.
I'm fine with it. I'm fine. I think everyone gets the wrong idea about us Victorians down here.
Oh, yeah?
I'm actually happy with the grand final.
You were pulling for Geelong, though, for a while, right?
Yeah, to finish top four, and I tipped them last week. If you remember last week, I was processing, and you kind of gave me the hurry up, and I was kind of like, I would have spat out Brisbane if you gave me time. But I did say 10 points or under. And they won by 10 points, Brisbane. So I said it was going to be close. So, yeah.
So let's talk a little bit about what happened last weekend. What went wrong for Port?
First final, 54 points. Second final, 75 points. Third final, 59 points. They can't score. That's it.
So it sounds like you're saying Radaglia is not the answer.
Yeah, I'm saying that. That's one of the problems. And Charlie Dixon's the other one.
And so has Charlie Dixon now played his last game?
Only if Ken Hinkley's not coach. If Ken Hinkley's coach, he'll play on next year.
But you think Charlie Dixon thinks he can play on? I mean, truly, do you think he's like, yeah, I got another year in me?
No, but for $400,000, he'll play on. As you would, right?
Well, maybe not. I mean, he might have said, I've been beaten up enough, you know? He may, want to have some semblance of... being able to walk as an old man at some point.
He's already broken. One more year's
he's
not
already
going to make
past
too
that,
much of
right?
it. Yeah, I was going to say it's past the point of no return. So
it was underwhelming. Their forwards were ineffective. The defensive pressure from the Swans, they couldn't match it. They couldn't do it. And then the Swans were scoring from turnovers. So it was awful. It was like watching a train wreck. I feel for these Port fans. Honestly, I know they had high hopes. They weren't happy with us.
Did they really have high hopes against the Swans in Sydney?
It's like you with Carlton. You were like, Carlton this, everyone has to get out. And then in their last game, you're like, oh, they're definitely going to win.
No. I said if Charlie plays, they'll win. He didn't play, so...
Can somebody roll back the tape, please?
Let's do that, please.
So moving right along.
I can't remember.
Geelong versus Lions. We both got this very wrong, didn't we? I mean, you got the 10-point spread, but we thought Geelong was going to win it, and it looked for a while like they were. But apparently Brisbane had another gear.
I think the other gear was Oscar McInerney going off and Joe Danaher going to the ruck and opening up that forward line, and the little Brisbane forwards could just run riot.
Really? Are Brisbane the new kings of comeback?
As opposed to Collingwood?
They came back from 44 against the Giants. They came back from 25 against Geelong.
Look, to do it in finals, you'd have to say probably yes.
Can you afford to have to come from behind during a grand final?
It's not ideal. Having said that, Brisbane, like we've just spoke about, they've shown that they can do it in finals 2 weeks in a row. Another week won't hurt, right?
I guess we'll find out.
Having said that, Sydney come from behind a lot too. So is it going to be a nil or draw in the first half and they just play cards in the middle of the ground and then go second half, let's start playing maybe?
I think the game against Port was one of the first games that they actually won the first quarter. Is that
says a lot about Port though, doesn't it? Let's be honest, just how poor they were, you know?
Allegedly, Butters was actually playing with cracked ribs. Mm-hmm. Should he have been allowed to play?
Allowed to play? I guess it's up to him, but he shouldn't have been picked. That's silly.
Let's talk about this little game coming up this weekend. So what would Chris Fagan be telling Brisbane that their strengths are going into this game against the Swans?
I guess their running power. They excel at that running power, and that's where I think geez, they're impressive. Like McCluggage and those types of guys. They're impressive running. They've got foot speed, leg speed.
Oh, leg speed. Sorry, not foot speed. No.
Foot speed. That sounds a bit odd, doesn't it? It's like the Flintstones in their car.
It's just as odd as leg speed, to be honest with you.
Well, there you go. Right? So they've got leg speed.
So what would John Longmire be telling the Swans are their strengths going into this game?
Funnily enough, the same. Their leg speed is good, yeah. Warner, Goulden, Isaac Heaney, they're the two quickest sides, along with Hawthorn in the AFL. Their leg speed is tremendous, both of them. When they get the ball, they just slingshot. So use your leg speed. MCG is a big ground. You're going to have to run to win this premiership. So use your leg speed.
So it's interesting that you say that, because I noticed something in this last game, that the return of the kick mark. So Cindye did a lot of kicking and marking. I'm wondering, are we seeing the tide turn? Because that's kind of gone out of favor. And then I think that made the difference in the game against Port.
They controlled the ball. They controlled the play. They just controlled it at their pace. Having said that, I think that had more to do with the actual game being a preliminary final. Like, once they got a hold of the game, I just thought that they just kept the ball to avoid injuries. Like, it doesn't matter whether you win by 4 points or 40 points. It's irrelevant, right? Yeah. So I think that was, I guess, more to do with that particular game. Whereas this one, there's nothing to preserve for the next week. I think it'll be a different game. I think it'll be 100 miles an hour, which I love personally.
It'll definitely be interesting to see whether they use that tactic again, because they were really good at it. It reminded me of the good old days of the West Coast Eagles.
Is that why you brought that up?
I mean, look, I don't try to drop the Eagles into every conversation. Josh Kennedy, yes, I do. Yeah. Hi, Josh. I was going to say,
Josh. Is he presenting the cup?
Well, he's the ambassador. Does that mean he gives the I can't remember now. I was going to wear my Josh Kennedy t-shirt. Maybe I'll save it for next week.
Yeah, next week, yeah.
But so, here's some points about Cindye. They are the highest scoring team with 97.5 points per game. Their spread of goal scorers is very high. They score from turnovers, but they have a slow start, which I think we mentioned, and they can struggle to keep their territory when they're under pressure. Is Logan McDonald in or out?
That's going to be probably a game day decision.
Now, if he is in, does it mean he's injured, and should, like we just talked about, Butters, should he be playing?
Well, I guess he's got a sprained ankle, so it's not... Depends how sprained it is, as stupid as that sounds. You can strap it up enough so there's stability, so you can, he's not a midfielder, so he doesn't have to turn as much, so he might get away with it. But if he's very unstable, I wouldn't play him. But there's no word yet.
So in terms of the Lions, some of the things they excelled at is that they had a very strong second half of the season.
They did.
And they obviously have showed us their ability to come from behind, hence the new comeback kings. And an adaptable game plan, right?
Very much.
I thought, in my opinion, no Oscar is a bad thing, and you seem to think it might be a good thing, or is that...
They've got a couple of options. Yeah. Darcy Fort being probably the most likely option. He's a ruckman. He's played 2 or 3 games all year. Do you take that chance on grand final day, or do you just throw Joe Danaher in there and let him play the whole game in the ruck,
They couldn't do that. I can't imagine they would do that. I mean, he's inconsistent too, but I mean, at least if he's having a good day,
he's having a good day. Yeah, he wins it. Yeah, true. Look, now we spoke about this yesterday, and we think that Darcy Fort might play for 2 quarters and give everything and try and wear Grundy out, and then get subbed at halftime, unless he's having a great game, of course. Get subbed at halftime, and Joe Danaher goes into the ruck. By that time, Brady Grundy's stuffed. And, they just run over the top of it.
The other thing about Brisbane is that their defensive pressure is the 3rd lowest in the comp. Did you know that?
I didn't know that, but I know that they give you a look.
And then they're, goal kicking inaccuracy, horrible inefficiency, and inconsistent. So, all right, here we go. It was a long way to get here. So who loses the 2024 AFL Grand Final? And why?
I think Cindye loses. And do you want to know why?
Well, yeah, that's part of the question. It's a two-part.
I'm just leading you up to it. You're going to give me time. Remember last week? Just give me some time to process. So,
all right.
I think Sydney rely on 3 players and 3 players only.
Okay.
Isaac Heaney, Chad Warner, and Errol Goulden.
Okay.
They're fantastic players. Probably 3 of the top 10 best players in the AFL, to be honest.
Yeah.
However, they rely so heavily on those 3 that if they don't play well, if they're not their 3 best players, they struggle against anyone. So I'm backing Brisbane with 18. They play well as a team over Sydney's 3 best players to be best on ground. So that's why I think Sydney loses.
Like who on Brisbane, if anyone, will be tagging one of those 3?
I don't think one. I think if Brisbane is smart, they tag all 3.
Okay.
Jared Berry will tag one.
Okay.
Josh Dunkley will tag another.
Okay.
And then depending on where Heaney goes, maybe Ryan Lester. But if he goes into midfield, it might be an issue. But again, you can't tag 3 midfield players because then that takes away from Brisbane, Lachie Neale. What do you do?
In the reverse question, does Sydney try to tag Lachie Neale or the midfield?
Forget about Lachie Neale. He's going to get it no matter what. Dane Zorko is the one that you need to tag for Brisbane. You tag him out of the game, you're half a chance of winning.
So here's my answer. I don't know. I mean, seriously, God, it's so hard. It could go either way. I'm picking the Lions to lose. The only reason I'm doing it is based on, as you pointed out, the midfield of the Swans. I think the forward lines on both these teams can be a bit dodgy, so I'm ruling them out. But grand finals seem to come down to moments, right? And if you're asking like which players I think are going to rise to the occasion in these like big moments, I just have to put my money on the Bloods. Danaher could win the Norm Smith medal or he could not get a touch. And I think Rayner is pretty much the same way. So I'm saying that the Lions lose and GWS's big brothers are going to win. See, I threw a GWS in there for you.
That's why the Lions are losing, because you love GWS so much. You have to go the Sydney side.
What's your plans for the grand final?
My plans are to watch it just behind that camera.
Yeah.
On my couch. Don't know with who yet. Usually there's a few people that come around.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, we usually get some fish and chips.
Yum.
Yeah, have some snacks, maybe a couple of drinks, and then onto the game.
So Norm Smith medalist.
No, I'll let you go first.
I'm just throwing it out there. It's going to be Isaac Heaney.
Wow. Didn't see that coming.
Well, I mean, if I think the Swans are going to win and I have to pick a Swan, right? Isn't that usually how it works? So the winning team?
Yeah, see Nathan Buckley when they lost. But anyway, yeah. But yes,
I was going to ask, does it ever happen?
Yeah, it's happened a couple of times, yeah.
Super Heaney is going to get it.
I'm going to stump you with this one.
Oh, okay.
Joe Danaher.
So how many goals is Danaher going to kick?
It's a tough one because I don't know how much he's going to play in the ruck as opposed to down forward.
Yeah.
If he plays in the ruck, most of the game, he can be damaging. He's good around the ground. He can take marks sort of everywhere. He's very agile.
Yeah.
But also down forward, he can kick 4 goals if need be. So the answer is I don't know how many goals he's going to kick. I just think he's going to be best on ground.
So there you have it. The last tips of the 2024 season. I hope whoever you'd like to win wins. Make everybody happy. And look forward to talking to you guys another time.